Welcome to Lemoore City Council Chamber located at 429 C Street. This is the February 6th meeting. Please silence all electronic devices as a courtesy to those in attendance. Thank you. If you could please stand for the invocation and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
With bowed heads, oh God, we thank you and we praise you, oh God, for this day that you've allowed us, oh God. And we just ask you, oh God, to bless this meeting, oh God. Bless them to accomplish all that needs to be accomplished in this meeting. And oh God, keep your angels for protection around each and every one as we travel in this weather, oh God. Take them to their home safely, oh God. Take them back to their home safely. And oh God, bless each and every council member, each and every person in this meeting. We will give you glory, honor, and praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Councilmember Lyons.
Present.
Councilmember Orth.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gornick.
Here.
And Mayor Matthews.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda approval, additions and or deletions.
There are none, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. Closed session, item 1, liability claim, government code section 54956.595. Claimant, Mr. Rold. We're going to go into closed session briefly and we will be back.
Watch out for it. Here's your limitations. And we work those out with you ahead of time so that we don't have to come to the council for every little thing anymore. Still not working. Okay. First topic is mini storages. So we currently have I think 6 mini storages in the city, 4 near the railroad tracks along either 19th or 19.5 Avenue, and there's 2 in the industrial park. Currently, we only allow mini storages in some of the residentials or some of the commercial zones and in the industrial park area. And there are a few, not all cities, that allow mini storages with a conditional use permit in residential areas. The thinking is that's where the people that's where the customers are. And that's been successful in Fresno and Clovis. Hanford recently started allowing that. So we wanted to see if you were open to something like that. There's a feeling that, with the base, there's maybe even more of a need for mini storages in Lemoore than a typical city of our size. So just wanted to see if that was something you're open to. If you're not, then we just won't pursue it. So.
Any questions from council?
Just a comment. I'm not. I would rather keep it out of residential areas. It's interesting, in talking with a couple of these cities you have up here, is that the number of, storage units that, want to come into cities is related in many respects, or correlated in many respects, to the size of the lots in the smaller homes.
Hmm.
And that is one of the reasons why they are growing in popularity. And so it all goes back to my gripe about.
I could tell you were going there.
Yeah. Build them a bigger house. That way they don't need a mini
So you
storage.
don't need.
Or a
yes,
bigger lot.
Or
There
a
you
bigger
go.
lot,
Yeah. So,
stuff in the back.
that's, and I think that puts a lot of pressure on, residential areas
Okay,
and,
I too do agree.
you agree? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Is that kind
agree
of a
also,
consensus?
but I do have a question. The 6 mini storages, did we call them and ask them what their capacity is like? Or how much availability do they have? Are they full?
No, we did not.
they
Last
raise
time
their
I had
rates every
one-
month.
Last time I had one, we were moving, they were
Pretty
like
full.
literally, someone moves out and someone
moves
moves in.
Yeah. And
So
but
they're-
we have not had any inquiries of anybody, any businesses wanting us to do this.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
I would like to know the availability, because if there's more to be had,
mhm.
or, I mean, maybe not in a residential neighborhood, but I don't know. Just a thought.
Ask them what their,
Yeah,
what would that be? Lease rate
Occupancy
is,
rate,
yeah.
occupancy rate, and if that's typical or not. Yeah, okay. But it sounds like leaning no.
leaning no.
I'll say that I actually am leaning more towards allowing with the CUP, just dependent on the project. You never know, something may potentially work.
Okay.
So that's where I stand. So just a little bit different, but
Okay. Okay, so we'll do a little bit more research and then come back next time. The next one. Home occupation. So if you, home occupation is a business that's being run out of your home. So your business address is the same as your home address. So this is not, we're not talking about work from home or an employee who does their work at home. This is if you're actually running a business. It could be a small thing or a larger thing. So we handle those by issuing home occupation permits, and they are standard conditions that they all must comply with. And the conditions are all geared toward keeping the neighborhood still having a residential feel. So things like you can't have any signs advertising. You can't have anything that looks like, so that if you drive by, it doesn't look like there's a business there. We limit the types of vehicles that can be parked. We don't allow employees, things like that. So some of the requirements are starting to feel a little out of date. Like one of them in particular is we limit the amount of deliveries. And with the rise in Amazon and FedEx and everything, the culture seems to be more accepting of seeing delivery trucks in the neighborhoods all the time. So that might be something to look at. We just wanted to see if this is something, if you've heard people saying, hey, we're getting more entrepreneurial. We want to be able to have business in our home and not have as many restrictions. Another one that people always talk about is having customers come to the home. Some cities don't allow it at all. We allow it, but I think you have to go to Planning Commission first. And then some say, limit, like you can have 6 a day or something like that. So that came up a few times a few years ago with swim lessons. Swim lessons is considered a home occupation, piano lessons, things like that, tutoring. So just trying to find that line of what to allow and what not to allow, so that to keep the neighborhood not, so that the business doesn't become a nuisance to the neighborhood.
How many businesses do we have like that? I mean, business licenses to be
Home
home
occupation,
occupation.
We ran that number not too long ago. I think it's in one of the reports.
Just a guess. I mean, I'm just curious, you know. I mean, I could see if, you know, somebody's a beautician or a barber and they want, you know, cut hair in their garage or something, you know. But
And that's actually one of the uses that's kind of, we're not sure what to do with it because we have
well, if God
the
wants to put
ordinance
another
has a
chair in
list
the
of
bar and-
examples of what you can do. It also has some activities specifically prohibited. And barber or hairstylist is not listed in either. So it's kind of like, and the state does now give a license to people to cut hair in their home.
Mhm.
So there, for a while, the state didn't allow it, so we didn't have to deal with the question.
So this list you have up here, activities prohibited, is this list compiled by us?
That's
or-
actually in the ordinance.
Okay,
So we will not allow those businesses to be run out of the home. But do you see something that shouldn't be on the list?
no,
Okay.
just there's some interesting things on there,
Yes.
Okay.
like a tavern.
Well, we wanted to be clear, I guess.
Private clubs.
Mortician. Mhm.
You would think that would go without saying, but
Yeah,
Well, it's kind of interesting. Number 7 says hair salons,
Yeah.
but
no,
Health
health,
salon.
health,
health
Health
salons.
oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Ammunition reloaded.
so Christy and I would kind of like to take a look at the standard conditions and maybe make some tweaks, but not make any major changes.
Yeah, looks good.
Does that sound like the right way to go?
So what's, let me just ask that, what if somebody's doing something like, do they still sell Tupperware?
Yeah. Why are you asking me?
I mean,
Have you seen my cabinets?
Is that where would that fall?
No, that's a good question. So the person who is operating that business, if they're operating it out of their home, they would get a home occupation for their home.
Okay,
They can go have parties wherever they want.
gotcha. Okay.
But not in their home.
Probably not in their own home.
Because that's a retail sale. from
Because
site, right?
because it'd be retail sales
You
from
get the
their
do
business.
Business in the more, but you can't do that in your house, but you can do it in
Yes.
somebody else's house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nope, sorry.
Because we don't want to regulate every party that's happening.
Good. Well, it's Airbnb.
Really? Yeah. No, that's true.
What was the question? The statement?
The way that Tupperware and Mary Kay and other things like that work is the person selling is technically an employee of a larger company. They're not the owner of the business, so they don't often come in for a home occupation.
So, number 3, we had a discussion a while back about the number of Airbnbs in town or whatever. Is that- Would that fall under?
Airbnbs have not been getting home ops either, no. We had the planning commission we asked the planning commission about that a few months ago. And they said, I think the conversation went something like, well, we better get on that before we get a lot of Airbnbs. And we quickly pulled up on our phone and said, well, there's already 70. And they said, oh, well, we didn't notice that, so I guess they're not a problem then.
Is there TOT on Airbnb?
So we have a draft ordinance from Airbnb that we've been working with them for the last few months. That's getting ready to come to council, but yes, once we pass the proper resolutions, if council should pass the resolutions, then Airbnb will actually collect the TOT tax from those businesses and send them to the city on a monthly or quarterly. But it's not just Airbnb. We have to get for the I don't know, BRNB or whatever they're called. There's a whole site, so it won't, it'll just state, basically less than 30-day stay. So anybody that's renting out under whatever platform, the platform will have to collect the TOT on behalf of the city and send it to us. And that is at no charge to the city. That's one we'll be bringing for hopefully a change.
Okay. Makes sense.
Any other questions about this part? Or comments or suggestions?
Next one's mobile food trucks. So the current ordinance allows mobile food trucks, but when you look at the standard conditions and restrictions, you can kind of get the sense that when this was set up, people were not totally on board with mobile food trucks. And I think the culture has changed since then. So the ordinance, when you read between the lines, it was more about protecting brick and mortar restaurants because there was distance requirements. You had to be 1,000 feet from a restaurant, which if you start mapping that out, then there's not that many places left because we're not going to allow it in residential zones. We're only going to allow it in commercial zones. And that's where the restaurants are already. So this is one where if you agree, we think we can make some major changes. It's because there's a huge interest in it. It's taken up a lot of Christie's time because she's had to negotiate an ordinance that is pretty restrictive with the culture that seems to want it. This is one we'd like you to see if you want to consider changing, if you agree.
I said.
I most definitely am on board with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm more interested also in the safety aspect of it, the food safety, and things like that.
For like health.
Yeah.
Cause so all the food trucks are required to go through the county health department for for a license or a permit from them. So we wouldn't deal with that aspect of it. We would deal
Just
with,
deal with the license.
we deal with the license of where they can locate and how they can locate in that location safely.
now does the fire have anything to do with that? You guys, do they do a fire inspection, make sure they got a
It's all done from the.
County?
County.
county does all that?
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure
But
they
we'll
have-
probably
fire
talk to,
extinguisher.
when we draft the new conditions, I'll probably want to talk to somebody from the fire department about, how to properly locate on let's say in a parking lot. Like where are good places to locate, where are bad places to locate in a parking lot, so things like that.
Now, are we gonna? Are they gonna define a food truck as in a truck that's portable? Is it
Yeah, like a trailer, like some of them are trailers.
like a bar?
Oh.
They all fall in the same category.
They'd all
correct?
fall in the same category.
It's got wheels and it sells
It's got
food.
wheels and it sells food?
Yeah.
Okay. It have wheels and it sells food, it'll be okay. Like a barbecue. If somebody just has a barbecue and wants to,
Well, now you're talking.
Well,
about
we have a
open flame.
different, yeah,
That's different.
because so if you've got, let's say you do an outdoor barbecue and you've got wheels on it so you can push it around, that would be something different.
You have to have like a
talking
scene,
about
you have to have a
building.
bunch of
Huh?
different things
Yeah.
with the county.
no, I'm talking about somebody that wants to have a food truck, but then have a trailer to pull barbecue,
Oh,
a big trailer that's got a smoker on it or, something, they're cooking it there and then, they're selling it. I mean, so yes, it has an open flame, but maybe it's got a lid on it or something.
If they're moving around and they want to locate in places that they don't own, like somebody's parking lot, then yeah, we would consider that falling under the food truck
Food
category.
truck, okay.
Yeah. Question?
What about sales tax?
Oh, there you go. I don't know. I don't know how that's settled.
So a lot of those, when they apply for their permits, they're taxed based on what they put down on their application for their gross revenues. So they're charged a fee, but as far as the point of sale, most vendors don't have those, so it's really on an honor system. So we collect on the front end. That may be something we could work out in an ordinance if they had to come up with some kind of a point of sale system or some way to show receipts to the city, but a lot of it's cash over the counter. It's
Yeah,
kind of
well,
hard.
I guess the issue would be if I was running a restaurant here on the corner and I had to get a sales tax on my receipts. And 2 doors down, the guy's got a truck and he doesn't have to do it.
I think that was part of the issue with
Yeah.
this first coming about years ago, and the fact that if you're mobile and moving around, you don't have property taxes and upkeep on your building and things like that too. So definitely a concern about how to solve that one. I'm not sure yet
Be
how you
helpful
would
to-
ensure it unless
helpful
everybody
to
was
address
required
that, yeah.
to have a point of sale system.
Yeah, the sales tax would be a good point, good argument.
You know,
Thank you,
because-
Mr. Reed.
Because you're basically doing the same thing with the Airbnbs. If we had them all, right, you're gonna
Yeah,
collect the tax, so.
it's gonna be an
You
honor
know.
system.
So Mr. Brandt, I
Okay.
guess you got some more consideration.
We'll look at
Yeah.
that. We'll see what other cities are doing, if they're
I'm sure the
doing
honor code's working, but
I know
that.
Nathan and I actually were having this conversation before too, about maybe even this, if it's on city-owned property, renting them the spot, and then you don't necessarily worry about sales tax or not because they're paying rent. I don't know if that would still
Mm.
be something that we could also look into.
Okay,
I think that's a good idea. Finding something where we can do that.
But then that city-owned property is very limited, so I'm not sure how that would work long-term, but something to think about.
okay.
Sure.
So then we have the mobile food truck home occupation combo. Um, So one of the issues that's come up fairly recently is, the food truck has to go home at night. And so what we're requiring is a home occupation for where if they're running the business out of their home, and then the food truck permit for being out and about. There's been some concerns that the food truck parked in the driveway is creating a nuisance in the neighborhood. So question is, do you feel like that's something we need to look more into and try to define? Do you feel like it's okay to have them parked at night at their owner's house? Things like that? Do they need to find a place to park besides residential areas?
you hit a good nail, and I don't think a lot of people experience this, but yes, it is a little bit of a issue.
I'll say in my neighborhood, there was one there, and I did get a lot of complaints from surrounding neighbors, just the way it was parked sometimes, or like a lot of times it was halfway in the street when they were loading or unloading. So definitely some things to look at and consider, I would say.
Some more
Any
thought.
any other comments or?
Mm.
No?
Okay. Temporary uses. So temporary use is kind of a catch-all. We issue temporary use permits. You can see the list of all the types of events, and as I was looking at this, it's not that we've had any specific problems. It's more of like, it's just kind of unwieldy. I remember we did have a very restrictive temporary use permit ordinance a few years ago, and we pared it back. And this one, maybe it went too far. It doesn't give enough structure. And one of the things that when I was looking at the list is maybe there's a way of separating them, because most of the temporary use permits that we're issuing are for very small scale events. Like somebody wants to sell their jewelry at the Friday night marketplace or something like that. And so, they're not making a lot of money. And then for them to come and have to get a temporary use permit every time is adding up for them. But some other things like, especially if you look at number 2, some of those assembly events, we have had carnivals at a park in the past, things those take up a lot of time for city staff. You know, the police is involved, fire's involved, making sure everything's okay. And so wondering if we need to separate out special events from other temporary uses, because those special events, when there's a large assembly of people expected. If you recall, there was a cannabis event that was proposed a number of years ago that we ended up denying, but we spent a lot of time on that permit application. And I think they, paid $80 for the permit application, so. So that might be something, I don't know if Christy might have some other ideas on it, but, again, we're just trying to find ways to make it easier for the small time people and not have them caught up in restrictions that are meant for larger events.
You know, we used to have a saying I guess we still do, in the education business, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary building. And so what's the parameters in terms of the term temporary? What kind of definition are you looking at? Like on one of these, like swap meets, does that include garage sales or rummage sale or something like that? Number 5.
No, not out of your home, not you yourself having room, but if somebody was putting together a rummage sale, like, hey, come to this empty lot on the weekend, we're having a special sale.
Gotcha.
Or for something like that. So
Okay.
it can also be like, yeah, a special sale at a lot or a piece of property that's not improved for that type of use. We can issue that. We could issue a temporary use permit for, what have we done before? Yeah, if it's a farmer's market, I think we issue one each year for the Friday night marketplace. So those types of things.
Okay.
And again, some are larger events and require some effort to think through and make sure all the safety boxes have been checked. And others are just small time people that are doing a little small sales event. And then they have to come in for this as well.
So let me understand this a little bit more better. Let me put it into terms I understand. You're trying to put some common sense into this situation, correct?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, and was the event a High Times? Was
High Times was the one that we.
Yeah, and
that
it was
we
gonna be
denied.
out there on the south side of 41, something
Yeah,
like that?
that's the one we
Yeah,
denied.
$80 for them, that would have been, that.
We spent a lot more
common sense is out
money
the window now.
processing that, yes.
Agreed, so agreed, so yes, I agree with what you're saying.
Oh, Christy says it's $400 now.
Yeah, it's still not enough for High
Mhm.
Times.
But that includes the small ones as well.
Yeah,
So,
no, so let's make some more sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, good
okay.
job, Christy. Christy, why are you up there? Christy, why are you?
I
Oh,
told her she should come up here whenever she
I
wanted.
know.
All
Is
right,
there, sorry,
go ahead.
is there a way to make, like, for example, some of the things that rec does downtown for the, or Easter or things like that, if there's some small mom and pop type vendors that say they make crafts and they want to come and sell that, is there some type of other, I know there's a name for it, but I can't think of it right now. We talked about it previously, a little while ago about.
Like a special event license, like a day license or something.
Conditionally.
Yeah, or even like or even if you did it annually, but it was like for those type of, or one-time use type thing where it's not necessarily like a
Special
whole
events, yeah.
business license, but it's just like, you just want to sell your things at the Easter event or the Halloween event or
Yeah,
Arbor.
the Arbor.
it seems like it's all about scale.
Yeah,
If it's small scale, we need to find a way to just let that happen.
right.
It's figuring out where's the threshold from small to now we need to care about it. So that's what we'll try to work on.
Yeah, let Christy work on that.
Okay,
Poor Christy.
cool. Oh, there we go. Okay, now let's move to signs. So highway oriented signs. So a highway oriented sign in the ordinance is defined as a monument sign, a tall monument sign that's along one of our two highways, advertising a business that's on the site. Currently, the ordinance says that the businesses have to combine their signs onto one sign, and there has to be at least of 6 businesses together. So you can see the one that recently went up at the Valero and Date Night Market. Fortunately for them, they actually have several businesses in that building, and so they are able to advertise each one, and they met the intent of the ordinance. Maverick is going to have a sign approved that will do the same thing. They have several businesses, and they'll probably have some empty spots at first, but they'll be available to the development that's going to happen next door. So every once in a while we do get requests for, hey, can I just have a sign just for me? And we tell them no. So
Can we have an example?
who's come in? Huh? Shaw's Air Conditioning.
You know, the thing I think we need to be careful on with respect to 41 and the development on the west side is we want it to look nice. They're coming through Lemoore, and so we want it to look nice on both sides of it. So, you know, these guys got in first, so they erected their sign but you know, you could have activity on all 4 corners there, and they all want to put a sign up, and we need to think through, you know, do we want to approve a mega sign where they all are located like some of the.
And I think that was the intent to
Yeah.
say, hey, you've got to get 6 businesses together. And because there's an adjacent site to this, where this sign is located, that's not developed yet. And we've told them, if you put something there, you don't get your own sign, you have to go on this sign.
That's it. Okay, good. That's what that, all right.
Okay.
But at the same time, you still want people to know where your businesses are.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't want to.
Well, yeah,
like
but
Vegas.
the proposed right here is just to reduce it from 6 to 4, which I agree with.
But that was just an idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
I would agree.
Okay.
I
So
I think we're a little far from being like Vegas.
Yeah, well, it happened real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be good though.
Yeah, I think it would help. I think right now when people are driving down 198 or 41, they really don't know what is available to stop in Lemoore. Everybody just shoots right by it. So I do think that signage is beneficial and helpful, like you had said.
Okay.
That's my 2 cents.
Caltrans have any restrictions on us?
Yes, but let me go to the next slide.
Okay,
Billboards.
yeah,
So they're not the same as a highway oriented sign. A billboard is a sign for hire. So it's owned by a billboard company. They lease the land that it's on, and they can advertise whatever they want on it. The difference, again, is the highway oriented sign can only advertise the business that's on the site that the sign is on. So we distinguish them that way. So currently, Lemoore does not allow any new billboards. So anybody that comes in, we've said, no, we don't allow them. We had 2 requests recently, and since we were bringing these up, we thought, let's ask the council, do you want to stay with no new billboards, or do you want to consider it? There are some companies that are willing to work with cities and say, hey, if you let me have this, I'll give the city free advertising, like especially the digital billboards. They'll make nicer looking ones than what this one looks like. But again, you do have to be, because I've regulated them in other cities, and you have to be really careful, because once you open the door, everybody will want, they'll find out Lemoore's open to it, and all the companies will want to come in.
Right.
So you have
put
to
a
be
number on it, though?
careful. You can put a number on it, so you can do things like, you can say you can only have them so like Selma, let's say, Selma's got a lot of billboards when you drive down 99. They allow them every 1,000 feet. And so they know exactly how many they're going to, the maximum they're gonna allow. But 1,000 feet is not that far when
Yeah.
you're driving at 70 miles an hour.
Is a billboard, or do we need a separate one for digital billboards or others, or what do you?
We usually regulate them the same and then have some additional requirements for digital billboards about light intensity and things like that. But again, right now, I think the question is, do you even want to open the door to the idea? Because it would take some work developing some requirements.
Go, like your last slide, where you showed the, you can go back to that.
Mhm.
Now, would we allow, if somebody wanted to put a billboard up too, would we allow that? I mean,
Not right now.
okay.
Yeah, but
That's
you
a-
wouldn't allow an advertisement to block another advertisement.
Yep.
No,
That's one of the reasons for the distance.
Yeah.
Requirement.
I like the digital signs. The one on the way to Hanford by the Koinonia Church. I think that's a good one. I mean, I don't want them every 1,000 feet by no means, but if we can work with somebody and we need to advertise our town. We need to advertise, and if they're willing to give us something to do some special events, I don't see why we don't open the door and allow them to do a handful, maybe not a handful, but get a number. I don't know, we can pick a number, I don't know, 4 or 5, whatever, and just kind of see how it works and kind of go from there. That's my 2 cents. I like the digital ones better than the other ones because I think they just look cleaner, and I think they're easier to, when the person stops paying for it, the billboard sign company has a tendency to leave it up there for
Yeah.
months and months and months, and it starts looking bad, and then kids are up there spray painting on it and stuff. I think the digital ones are the way to go personally, but it's my 2 cents.
Now, we'll point out, unless we can negotiate for the city to have time on a digital billboard, but we can't regulate the other businesses they advertise. So they
Yeah.
could,
No,
so
that's
they
fine.
can advertise for businesses out of town.
Well, that's just rude.
I know.
Well, the other issue is location, and they're looking for location, so I would think, well, you tell me what's more popular locations that they're interested in putting up.
Oh, the 2 that we had interest in, one was on 41, just north of this. And the other one was on 198.
On the east or west side of the street?
I think it was on the south side near Bennett and Bennett.
Hmm,
Oh, so on 198,
yeah. on the
Yeah.
south side.
198, yeah.
Okay,
And then on 41 was north of
Was
there.
just north of Bush, yeah.
And I've had an inquiry for over kind of by Motel 6. And that individual wanted to do a digital display and enter in some kind of profit sharing agreement with the city, give the city free advertisement, but also give the city a portion of the proceeds from the advertisement sold. But I told them we currently don't allow those signs and we were bringing it to council. So I guess we've had 3 requests then.
Sounds like there's a possibility there.
It's worth looking into, I think.
I think it's very worth
I would
looking
say
into.
yes with limitation.
With
just-
limitation.
I don't want to see, 50 of them driving through town.
No.
I highly doubt that would happen, but
Okay. Second. Oh, there was one more. Monument signs. So monument signs, you can see, well, that's Burger King. These are more common businesses, especially in shopping centers, have a monument sign out front. The current height limit is 4 feet. Most cities that allow monument signs are like 6 or 8 feet or 10 feet. So the question is, and so a lot of, we get that a lot from sign companies when they are coming in and they're like 4 feet, that's low. And it's because they're used to other cities.
why
So-
would we have made it a 4 foot? Like,
I don't know.
Well, right there is probably somebody pulling out of Save Mart.
yeah, so you
You
can
don't want it
see.
to be 8 feet tall and you can't see around the,
Yeah.
Although
But,
it's only a
but when
controlled
but the
left,
cities that,
or
the
right.
cities that allow them 10 feet have separation from driveway distances and things like that. So they
Yeah.
take care of it that way.
Because that, you couldn't have one that 8 foot tall, you'd have 50,000 car accidents right there.
I kind of like the 4 foot ones. So.
Do you have a picture of one that is 10 feet or 6 feet in your presentation?
Didn't bring one.
That's a good idea.
Um,
Steve didn't do it.
And where at, that'd be the other thing, I mean,
right here. No, I don't know. I know in Visalia, most of all the new signs in are 10 feet on Mooney Boulevard. There's
think-
obviously the old ones that are really tall, but there's only a few of those left. But all the new ones are 10 feet. Six feet okay, so 12th Avenue and Hanford are 6 feet.
What, I'm having a hard time visualizing. Can you think of one right off that you know of that is bigger? Yeah, can you talk in the mic, Christy?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
You thought you're gonna get away with it.
you tried.
I think that I've seen like Les Schwab has one that's taller than 4 feet. And when we say 4 feet, that's not that the sign is limited to actually the size of it being 4 feet. That means from grade level, it's not allowed to be
Yeah.
taller than. So we would like to maybe just loosen the ordinance a little bit, still have strict requirements on where, like we go through a visibility process and all with the signs and what have you. So it would have to be set back so far if it was taller, and all those things would be taken care of. But it is, especially for a larger business, it's kind of taxing. They're like Panda Express, for instance, they have like a standard size, and I had to have them make it smaller because that's our ordinance. So their little Panda thing that they have.
yeah, I'm open to considering change.
So just-
10
just a
10 seems
little
too
bit.
much.
So that's not necessarily a solid sign, like you said, it could be on a post and then another part on the top.
No, a monument sign is by definition is on a base.
So from the bottom
So
to the
we have
top, it's gonna be
different
solid.
requirements for the pole or the pylon signs.
Gotcha.
That's another study session.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you have standards with respect to the compatibility with the structure of the building? So, if they want a monument sign of whether it's 4 or 6 feet, like the one that you have pictured here, that looks like it's pretty consistent with the construction of the burger.
Oh, like the architecture of the sign?
Yeah,
We don't, but we can.
I mean, I
It's
thought-
that one's a little
I-
harder because you can say it has to be, architecturally similar. But
But yeah,
that's sometimes in the
that's-
eye of the beholder.
Yeah,
well, no, it's
You're open
it's
to
in your.
But at least if
it's in
we
your
say
eye.
it,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
Sure.
if you think it's consistent with that, then go for it. But,
Okay.
You
Yeah, we
don't
can do
want to
that.
put 2 4x4s up and nail the sign up there,
no, we have some
Make it look
material,
good,
we have
yeah.
materials standards, so yeah,
That's good.
okay. I think that was it.
That's it?
So you got through group 2.
well, that one was much easier.
Yes.
Good. That was what I was hoping for.
Don't go anywhere because I'm going to open it up to the public. So there
Got it.
could be more questions.
I'll put this
Is
back.
there any public comment on any of those study session items that we just went through? Anybody have any questions, comments, or concern? If you could come to the microphone so everyone can hear you.
I can speak louder.
Hello, council. My only question is, what about those waving flags? Have you ever seen like the car lots have?
Mhm.
And what about those? Where can they be positioned? Or they have to be removed every time? Because these are just ones that go into the ground. So are they removed every time when the business closes to take home? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I know exactly.
So that's kind of my concern because we use them outside of businesses, like to let people know we're open and things like that. What's the regulation on that?
Could I get your name real quick for the record?
Ronnie Sue Morris.
Thank you. And I think Christy has an answer for you.
But she has to go with Mike.
Yeah.
So those are listed as temporary signs and you're allowed one per storefront. They have to be out of the public right of way, generally 15 feet. You don't have to take them down every night, but they are allowed, just there's restrictions. So it would be the same how we would do with monument sign. We would say, okay, maybe go a little higher, but maybe the property would have to have so much store frontage or street frontage or something like that. So
So these are signs like A-frame signs that
like the
people
flag, I
put
think you're
on.
talking about like the flag signs that you see.
But
They're,
on like a pole.
they're like 15 feet tall or 10
Oh,
feet
and
tall or
well, don't
something. It
those have
says
to usually,
sale.
don't they normally get stuck in like
Ground.
dirt
Yeah,
or some kind?
yeah.
You can't do it
So-
in the cement.
Yeah, those are temporary signs. So those are allowed. You're allowed one per storefront, but it has to be out of the public right of way. And that.
So
sort of
in our planter boxes.
Or
There's
landscaping.
it's
grass
a
or
complicated
flower.
process.
No, I'm just asking if that's what.
So we're, to be business friendly downtown, yes, we do. We try to be business friendly
And allow
where
them
we
to
can.
put signs in the
Yes.
planter
As long as
boxes.
it's not a visibility
Oh, okay.
issue, we try to be.
I didn't know. I was just unclear about that.
Good question.
Somebody needs to tell AT&T about that because I think they have like 8. Any other comment inside? Okay, we'll go ahead and go to online.
Oh, hang on, we got one.
Hold on, let me get the online and I'll come back to you.
Good evening, Council. Jennifer Solis, 757 Redwood Lane. This is a very exciting discussion. I'm very excited for the food trucks. The question I had was actually about the shed. What I have, the potential storage sheds. What I have read in the ordinance is that homes can only have a temporary storage shed. You know, like we have like a Craftsman one in our backyard that's like, I don't know, 8 foot by 4 foot. So I didn't know if you could clarify on that maybe I misread the ordinance, if that is allowed to be or what. I guess I don't even understand necessarily what temporary is, because like I guess ours is temporary because it's on, you know, a cement slab, but it can be moved when we move. So just curious if you can clarify any of that. Thank you.
Don't hang up, Jennifer.
So at the beginning of the meeting, we were talking about mini storage. So I just want to make sure we weren't getting mixed up with that. But storage sheds, if it's under 120 square feet, you can have a shed pretty much anywhere you want in your backyard. It just needs to be, I believe it's like 2 feet from the fence so that your runoff doesn't go into the neighbor's yard. Don't quote me on that. Anything over 120 square feet then requires to be on a permanent foundation, and it requires a building permit just for them to check the foundation. You can still do the, what did you call it? What are those storage?
Like a tough shed.
Like-
Yeah,
tough
tough
shed.
shed, that sort of thing. But if it's over 120 square feet, you just need to get a permit for the foundation.
Thank you.
The gentleman in the second row, you had a question?
And I'm sorry,
Okay.
and it has to meet the building setback. So like your 10-foot rear yard setback and your 5-foot side yard setback, that sort of thing. And then we look at the height. Can't be taller than the house. Sorry.
Thank you.
I got a question on the temporary permits that they're allowing. And it says vendor trucks, but what about somebody who's just starting a business? Cause I called the county and they says like farmer's market, they're allowed to set up the pop-up tent, the netting around it, the portable hand washing station. And since this is a temporary permit, would that be accessible to be allowed in a location since it's just only temporary? It's not like a taco truck going back and forth all the time. It's just a temporary, you're just giving what's the time limit on the temporary permit? Kind of like,
Yeah, I'd like to know that too.
you know what I mean? So like if you get approved for a temporary permit, it's permitted for what? 4 months, 3 months, 6 months? And then what are the qualifications as far as what's gonna be allowed outside of what they're just saying, because when you say businesses, I mean, he brought it up, barbecue business, guy smokes outside, but he sells all his stuff from inside the concession stand. So to start a business, go buy just a trailer just to sell from inside when he's got a tent and all the other stuff, it's like kind of making it hard for a person to go spend, because those trailers are 60, 70, $120,000 that an average person trying to start up a business just doesn't have right away to go buy a trailer. So with a temporary permit to do it with the netting and all the safe has health restrictions, because I've had a barbecue business up in the Bay Area, and that's what I had to do to start off with that. But I know this county, every county's different and every city's different, so that's my question. And I'm David Rao. I knew
Thank
you were
you.
gonna ask me.
So again, our rules are very, very, very strict. You can be in an industrial zone, neighborhood commercial zone, and I believe regional commercial zone, but don't quote me on that. The property has to be developed. You have to have access to whatever business is there has to allow you to use their refuse containers, which now they also have to have the food waste container. You have to have access to their restrooms, that sort of thing. One thing I would clarify is that Steve said that the rolling barbecue is treated the same way as a food truck. That's not necessarily true. They are treated a little differently. I do work with the fire department, and the rules are very strict with both the county and our fire department as far as the barbecues. There's certain things you can't even cook on there. I think you can't even cook vegetables on there. But there are things like, are you taking up parking spaces that are required for that business? And there's a list, and if you want to contact me at the office, I'd be happy to sit down and have a discussion with you. But it's really almost impossible, to tell you the truth. You can't be, like we said, within a 1,000-foot vicinity. Even with the temporary use permit, you can't be within 1,000 foot of more than one other restaurant, whether it's a food truck or a storefront restaurant, unless it were like, if you're talking about an event, like the city's having the Jingle Mingle or something like that, those are completely different. You have your vendors and they've got their little thing, as long as it meets fire code, those are different. But it's just, if it's a standalone, our ordinance is very strict.
Can we look
So-
into that? Can
Yeah,
we do
that's
that?
why we're here tonight, to see if you would like to, yeah. So
And
we'll
one other
bring
thing
something back.
he asked Christie, when he said temporary, how long is temporary?
We generally do, well, on a temporary use permit, that's another thing. It's so strict that our temporary use permit doesn't really fit anywhere. It fits a broad range of things. So generally they give me like, how long do you want to be there? If it's a food thing, like I'll tell you right now, we've been kind of doing a test scenario with the Wrecking Bar. They've had a food truck there, and I haven't had any complaints. It seems to be running well, and we kind of wanted that to be able to, see whether we would even bring this to you. What was your question?
Temporary.
Oh, so
long?
we gave it to them for 6 months.
Oh,
So, yeah, and Hanford, I believe they give theirs for 6 months, but then I think once it ends, you can't be there again for 3 months type of thing. And that's something that I would like to look into, because if you give someone if you give somebody a temporary use permit for 6 months and they come back right when it expires and says, okay, I want another one, next thing they're there for 5 years, and you pretty much got a permanent business.
yeah, then your
You know what I
temporary
mean?
building just became a
So-
permanent structure.
That's right.
Yeah,
How about that?
How it happens.
so,
But I like the idea of just giving a vendor a time. So 6 months or whatever, knowing that they can't get another one. So
Yeah.
that they have to then decide.
so it is temporary.
Yeah, it's truly temporary, and then they have to decide what they want to do, rent a space somewhere else, or, whatever.
I have some ideas I
Okay.
hope we'll like.
I think it works.
Sir, did that answer your questions? Right on.
Thank you, Christy. Any other comment?
Yeah, looks like Marissa has some.
Hello, I did receive 3 comments via email. And the first one reads, Good evening, Honorable Council and City Staff. My name is Marissa Trejo, and I'm a lifelong resident of Lemoore. In relation to the study session reviewing the code and standards, I would like to express support for allowing food trucks to operate within the city of Lemoore. I am a big foodie and feel food trucks would not only provide more choices for the community, but also help us grow our own new businesses, as many restaurants start out as mobile food vendors and then open more permanent locations once they have grown their customer base. While I generally support a more free market economy, I can respect your positions and concern for how these food trucks may impact existing local businesses. I think a fair compromise may be to consider allowing them to operate in one city-controlled location on a temporary basis and revisit an ordinance change at a later date after you have had sufficient time to evaluate their impacts. Thank you for your consideration, Marissa Trejo. The second one reads, My family and I support food trucks being allowed to operate in Lemoore with proper licensing. Debbie Muro. And then the third one reads, Hello, I wanted to reach out about food trucks being allowed to operate in Lemoore. I seen a post on social media asking for community to reach out to express our support. I have been a resident since 1992. I would love to see our community give small business owners and food trucks more opportunities to show our wonderful, diverse community different food options other than fast food. Thank you so much for hearing my thoughts and hope this helps our community reach a common ground. Take care. Sincerely, Jenna Lynn Smith. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other comments or questions from council? No? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to public comment. Public comment will be in accordance with the attached policy. This time is reserved for members of the audience to address the city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. It is recommended that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes each, and it is requested that no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda. Prior to addressing the council, any handouts for council will be provided to the city clerk for distribution to the council and appropriate staff. The public will have an opportunity to comment on items on the agenda once the item has been called and the mayor opens the item to the public. Is there any public comment? This is the regular general public comment.
Good evening.
If you could please state your name.
Yes, my name is Gloria Huizar Martinez. I have lived 270 Larish for the past 30 years. And I work for Lemoore Elementary School District. I'm an elementary teacher. I do get paid once a month. So this is a time when the beginning of the month, I sit down and I pay my bills. And most of the time is my bills, I pay them online. And the reason why I'm here is because I have been paying my water bill online using your utility line system that you had offered us. And pretty much since you gave us that option, being a working mother, I jump into the system of, I chose to pay it online. So every month, like I'm expected to pay my bills online. I had noticed that the online system didn't really match any of my statements. The statements were not transparent online. So I was always running my current bill to how much I paid last month to how much do I have, and then send a payment. And every time on the next bill, I receive an unexpected payment. $30 late fee on top of a $30 penalty fee. It was not until recently that a new wording was added on the online system that states that the balance are not updating currently on the online system. So this wording made me stop and take a closer look at my bill. And I could not believe how much I had been charged over the last months on late fees and penalty fees. Not because I do not have the money to pay my bill upfront, just because I was based my bill online. And obviously my numbers did not match. And I apparently, I did stop at the city of Lemoore and I talked to a lady, I believe it was a supervisor, because I did request her to talk to the supervisor. And they did agree that the system does not work properly. That, and when I requested for them to oversee my charges or to take a look at them a little closer, they said there was nothing they could do. They said, in order for me to dispute a charge, I will have to stop from making the payment, because once I give the payment, there's nothing they can do. And she said, do not pay your bill, and then you can come and dispute it. I said, as is, if I have a maybe 30 cents amount that it was not paid because I could not see how much I owe you, now, if I don't pay my bill, of course, I will end up with no water. So I cannot afford to do that.
I just want to interrupt you. If you could just wrap up, your 3 minutes is up. If you could just.
Yes.
Give us.
So I would like to request the city council to please put this in an action item for the next time. And I will also like for you to step in and take a closer look at how much penalties and fees are the city gaining from these portal errors.
Thank you.
If I could have, if you would leave the city clerk, maybe your account number, I'll have a audit done your account. Somebody will get back to you tomorrow.
Oh,
Any other public comment? Any online, Marissa? Seeing no more public comment, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item. There are no ceremonial presentations. Department and city manager reports. Ms. Rolson?
Hey, Mayor and council members, first up tonight is Frank Rivera, Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Just want to update you on the storms that began on Thursday and continue into today. But Thursday, we got rain started about 3 o'clock. And within probably an hour, we had about 2 3/4 of an inch of rain that came down. And throughout the whole day, according to our tabulations, we almost had like 5 inches of rain. So we've had a lot more rain in this rain event than we've had probably historically. And so all the areas that we do have, problems with, they just magnified. A lot of the issues that we have at Lemoore is that with our high groundwater, everything is pumped. So there's not a whole lot that flows gravity. It all has to be pumped through lift stations. So whatever the pump can pump, that's all the water that we can push. So, but we had many employees that volunteered. We had somebody from Refuse that stopped by and said, hey, can we help out? So we had Refuse helping. We had building maintenance. And then we had all of our city staff out all night long, just doing the best they can to set up barricades, set up pumps to move water, just whatever they could do. And they continued out through the whole weekend, just being in preparation for the coming storm. So, yeah, we're just, we're keeping sand at both locations along with sandbags. As you know, the one on F and Fox Street, that one's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The one at the Corporation Yard, so long as we're there, that sand pile is available for residents. So anyway, just want to kind of give you an update on the storm and if you have any questions.
Thank you. And thank all of you guys for what you do to help keep us not underwater.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Ray Greenlee.
Good evening, Mrs. Mayor and City Council. I'm just here to give you a brief update on PG&E. They are scheduled to energize Panda Express Friday. They're starting Friday through, they anticipate by Sunday. to have everything moved and energized. So we'll wait and see on that. And the other one is Lennar Homes was supposed to be energized this past weekend because of the storms. They got pushed out. And when I talked to their superintendents, they said that they're probably, PG&E's pushed them out towards the end of this month. So, or possibly sooner, but.
Okay.
So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'll keep my comments to myself about PG&E.
That's about as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Coming out of me. I was gonna be a lot colorful. But, all right.
Chief Kendall?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Few things. We'll be providing active shooter training and conducting a site survey for Leprinos West at their request. So we're happy to do that for them. We've been asked by the Lemoore High School School District to participate in the development and approve their school safety plans for their sites. And then I'm happy to report that it looks like every officer in our department has and or will be as scheduled to be trained in de-escalation training. We're just trying to get a couple of the stragglers left. And then lastly, our CSOs who are in the audience today, they've all been certified through the state as code enforcement officers. That's it. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, where's our CSOs? Where are they?
Right over
In the
there.
back.
Oh, I would like to see them. Why don't you stand up?
We're missing one, Joanne's not here, but Evan's still here.
Oh, hello.
Okay, a couple items coming out of my office is one, Valley Pier has bought property along the freeway and they want to build a brand new dispensary, which they're currently allowed to do that. They can transfer their license over. The owner is requesting if council would consider allowing him to keep his depot location opened if he built a new one along the freeway. He feels right now the time to kind of gain some market share. He can afford to do it and has the wherewithal, but he'd like to try to take some of that business traveling along the 198, but he would like to keep his downtown presence. So I'm looking just for if council would like to explore that or not. Our current ordinance reads one dispensary for every 12,000 people. We have interpreted that in the past as we're only going to have two. Some people have said, well, you can have a three because you've got over 24,000 people. My stance on that was no, we're only allowing two. So it's really, is this something that council wants the city to pursue or not?
So what the city manager is requesting is consensus to bring this back as a future agenda item. There shouldn't be any discussion on it right now.
Yeah, agenda item.
No.
Got one,
Yes.
one, two,
No,
two.
I don't see anything wrong with bringing it back for an agenda item for more
Okay.
discussion.
So 3 ayes. Okay, thank you. Secondly, we've been in talks with the chamber. There's they're requesting a reconveyance from the city. Back in 2005, the city made a loan to the chamber in the amount of $10,000 through the RDA. What I'm asking for permission to do is the chamber is trying to sell a property. There's a lien against it essentially for $10,000 up to $50,000, but we cannot find any record where they paid the RDA back those funds. With the council's permission, they'd like me to sign the reconveyance so they can sell that property and then hold $10,000 in escrow until it can be brought back. I think it has to come back to this council as the successor agency, but I'm still working through the county on that. But it's time sensitive because the chamber does want to move and sell this property. So the money would be safeguarded. It would just allow them time to transfer it. Is that something that council's on board with to bring back later?
And it would come back under joint meeting, successor agency and city council. Remember, you sit in both capacities.
I'm on board to bring that back.
yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And this Thursday night from 8 PM to 1 PM, the SWAT team will be doing some training at the old City Hall, 119 Fox Street. So if you see activity and a lot of officers out there, we're doing training. They've asked for permission to use the building. I granted that to them. The feedlot CUP for the feedlot on 41 in Jackson went to the Kings County Planning Commission last night, and they did grant a continuation till their next meeting next month to allow the one party protesting the feedlot as they brought it back because their old CUP expired. Some time to go over some concerns that they have. So it has been postponed for 1 month. The next hearing on that will be March 4th. And then
Who's protesting?
People's Farming. Under article or under CEQA 15162, I believe is the number, because when the first CEQA was done, they weren't farming yet. So now that they've been farming, they're seeing more and more things related to flies.
Sure.
And pollen and things like that. So the original CEQA didn't address some of those new things that have come to light since then. So they're going to give them some time to work it out. If they can't, then the planning commission will decide to send it to the board of supervisors or not. If you've gotten your bill, which you should have had, the 2024 trash and watering schedules in your bill, so don't throw it away. Look for it. It should be in the back package of it. And then I'd like to congratulate Christy Bailey. She has been here for just a couple days, over 16 years now, as an employee for the city of Lemoore.
Congratulations, Christy.
And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any way that we could put out on the social media platforms about the city hall training, or would you rather not put that out there?
Chief, can I defer to you on that one?
Fine.
It's fine. Okay.
Okay, just
mean-
so maybe some more people, maybe keep you from getting some calls.
Okay, or maybe you get some looky-loos.
Well, I mean, if you prefer not to, that's totally up to you. Just a thought. Okay, moving on to consent calendar. We have item 4-1, approval of minutes, regular meeting, January 16th, 2024. 4-2, approval parcel map submitted by MOUA Engineering Survey LLC. 4-3, approval denial of claim for Mr. Ronald Rold. And that's it for consent calendar. Would anyone from council like to pull any of those items? Seeing none, is there a member of the public that would like to pull any of those items? So 4-3, you would like to pull that item? Thank you.
I advocate for him because, he's profoundly deaf and it's hard for him, to communicate sometimes. But, what is your denial on that? And what do we do after that? Up to now?
So it looks like this item is going to be pulled and I will weigh in on that item when you get there after approval of the rest of
Okay.
the items.
Okay,
We're gonna go ahead and pull the item.
okay. So what is that?
So you just hang out there for a second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll
Just hang out.
discuss.
We're gonna do something real quick and then
Okay.
we'll
Okay.
Any other items that public would like to pull? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to accept 4-1 and 4-2.
Motion to accept 4-1 and 4-2.
second.
Have a motion by Councilmember Lyons and a second by Councilmember Orth. Councilmember Lyons,
Aye.
Councilmember Orth,
Aye.
Councilmember Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Gornick,
Aye.
and I vote yes as well. Okay, 4-3, Mary?
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. This item was pulled by a member of the public. It is recommended for denial because the city's risk manager has reviewed it and recommended it for denial. I recommend there be no further discussion on this item. It's a procedural element that needs to occur in order to get certain statute of limitations running. I don't know if any other members of the public have a comment or question.
Any other Public comment or question?
I come last year to this meeting. I put a report for somebody is this harassment. A lot of people are harassing me.
Is this, excuse me, sir, is this?
My name is Jaime Lovera.
Is this in response to item 4-3?
No. I don't know. I don't know. My English now not very well, but I don't know.
So the item that we're on right now is a specific agenda item, and so the comments are limited
This
to
is a
item
public,
4-3.
The public comment was right after our study session, the regular public comment.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion from council to approve 4-3?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Orth and a second by Councilmember Gornick. Councilmember Orth,
Yes.
Councilmember Gornick,
Yes.
Councilmember Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Lyons,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. There's no public hearings. We'll move on to new business. 6-1, report and recommendation, acceptance letters of intent regarding construction of Oleander Avenue near D Street. Mr. Grant.
Thank you. As you're aware, there's some vacant land on D Street, kind of west of the Best Western. That land is actually subdivided into 7 different lots. And the subdivision map includes direction for Oleander Street to be extended from where it is right now and connecting up to D Street. That was made a condition of approval in 2002 when this map was approved, that the developer would build that street prior to developing any of the lots. And there's a recorded document in place to affirm that condition. As you recall, the city applied for and was awarded a grant to make road improvements in that area in connection with the affordable housing project. And that Oleander connection was included in that. And we've since been told that we will be getting funding for that grant. The fact that now the developer will not have to pay that expense himself and that'll be funded through the grant. And because of some of the zone changes that we did last fall, there's been renewed development or interest in those parcels for development. But because that original document that says the developer has to build the street is recorded in the record, it keeps coming up in title reports when buyers are doing their due diligence to purchase land. So the seller has asked for something from the city to confirm that he can show to potential buyers saying, hey, there's going to be a grant, it's going to happen, this is going to happen. So we have 2 draft letters in your packet to go to the 2 property owners of, there's 1 lot that's owned by 1 property owner and the other 6 owned by another, that they can then use however they wish to say, here's what the city's position is on this issue. And hopefully them having those letters will make it easier for them to do the transactions that they want to do. So that's, we're asking just your concurrence for the city manager to sign the letters.
I think this is a great idea to use those funds that we got with the grant to enhance the street and that entire space there on both sides. That I think it's a great idea and open up some possibilities for the city. So I would certainly move that we take that action.
We'll have to get public comment first, but noted. Any other comments or questions from council?
I agree with Frank.
Noted. Any other public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and bring it back to council. I have I'm assuming a motion from Frank,
Yeah, I so move.
and a second from Mr. Lyons. Councilmember Gornick,
Aye.
Councilmember Lyons.
Yes.
Councilmember Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Orth,
Yes,
and I vote yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was forgetting you guys' names for a second.
it happens.
6-2, report and recommendation, request for proposals, RFP, refuse service. Mr. Rivera.
Evening, Mayor and council members again. Public Works was tasked to draft up a draft for a request for proposal for outsourcing refuse. And I also have Brandon Reeder he's online to answer any questions that I maybe not be able to answer, but anyway, so what staff did was basically went online to see what the RFPs were available online. And so we took some drafts and put in the information that pertains to the city of Lemoore on Lemoore's expectation for refuse service currently, and then to meet any potential demands that the state may have for cities to be required to do for the next 10 years. So staff is pretty much just asking for any direction as far as any comments to the draft. Anything you want added, removed, just direction on moving forward. That's what that's what I'm asking.
I had one question. I looked through the contract. It's very long. I don't know, does it speak to the level of service for commercial bins? Like how, the commercial bin, the different sizes on
I believe that's in there.
prices, or not the prices, but what we offer for different commercial bin sizes?
There's a chart in there that breaks it down, residential, commercial, industrial.
How many bins and the different,
Again, a lot of it is determined on the needs of the customer also.
okay,
So I think they just took some historical information, that we currently provide. And that's what we have the contractors providing a proposal based on that information.
are the pumps running?
Yeah, talk about historic.
Are the pumps running?
Sorry,
They're running, but
I know.
that's running a lot faster.
Fast as they can.
Oh, okay. No, I guess the other question is, how often do they pick up the commercial dumpsters? Is it weekly? I didn't necessarily, the request is, are they weekly pickups?
They
Twice a
in
week?
here,
3 times a week?
If you look on your screen
Yeah.
right there, it'll tell you the size and the
Week.
amount of pickups per week and then the fees.
Fees?
So they have the option once a week, twice, or
Okay.
once, twice, 3 times, 5 times a week.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions from council? I noticed a few of typos in the proposal, but the one that really stuck out was on page 43, under number 15 was the city of Reedley in there, I think, maybe.
oh,
Oopsie,
it's a big one.
maybe switch that one.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Says City of Reedley?
Yeah.
I wonder where we got this document.
Oh,
One guess. Personally.
Give you 3 guesses, Stu, and the first 2 don't count.
wow.
Other than that, I don't know that I had anything else. I do have well, no, I'll save that. Anything else from council? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none? Okay.
I did get a public comment emailed in regards to this item, and it reads, Dear Lemoore City Council, I am writing to express my concerns regarding the proposal to outsource the city's refuse collection services to a private company. As a resident and taxpayer of the city, I believe it is essential to maintain our current system of employing city workers for refuse collection rather than outsourcing to a private company. First and foremost, keeping refuse collection services in-house ensures accountability and control over the quality and service provided to the residents. City employees are accountable to the local government and the community they serve, which fosters a sense of responsibility and dedication to their work. In contrast, private companies may prioritize profit margins over service quality, leading to potential issues such as missed pickups, inadequate waste management practices, and higher costs for residents. Furthermore, retaining refuse collection as a public service helps support local employment and economic stability. City employees contribute to the local economy by spending their wages within the community, which in turn stimulates business growth and supports other local industries. Outsourcing to a private company could result in job losses for city workers, undermining the economic well-being of our community. Additionally, there is a risk of losing control over essential municipal services if they are outsourced to a private entity. Once a contract is signed, the city may have limited ability to intervene or address issues that arise with the private contractor, leading to potential service disruptions and dissatisfaction among residents. In conclusion, I urge you to reconsider the decision to hire a private company for refuse collection and instead continue to invest in and support our city's workforce. By maintaining control over essential services and prioritizing the well-being of our community, we ensure a cleaner, more efficient, and economically sustainable future for all residents. Thank you for considering my perspective on this important matter. Sincerely, former employee and current resident Margarita Maggie Ochoa, 973 Prosperity Drive.
Thank you. I have one question. I know a couple of council members had asked what that would cost for us to do in-house, and I don't know, unless I missed it, did that come across?
So on the rate study that was prepared and passed by council, last time we did a refuse rate study, to go to a third can would have been an additional $4 per household per month. And during our community meetings, the community did not want to pay the $4 for that last can. We've run some back of the number. It's been several years. Now we're thinking it's more like $5.50 to get the third can pickup and have the monies to support at long term, plus probably an additional body to help with the 1383 compliance. So that'll be coming, if we choose to stay in-house, that'll be something that'll have to come forth to council at a later date.
I think maybe that would be worth going back to the public for, because it's like different circumstances. Like before it was, do you want to have an extra pickup? Versus now it looks like, do you want to keep our employees, which I think that's a different discussion.
And one other thing we need to be cognizant of as well is, because we're a municipality as of January 1/24, and our fleet manager, the actual title, he'll be here to do an update. But any vehicles the city buys with a gross vehicle weight of 8,600 pounds or more, 50% of all new purchases have to be electric. The only current electric garbage trucks they're testing in LA are 10 to 13 yard boxes. We use a 36 to 39. So they're not even available. So we'd have to have 3 electric to replace 1 natural gas or 1 diesel. And the last numbers I got, and he's going to update these for his presentation, was we can buy a diesel cab chassis for about $170,000, not counting the bed. These electric cab chassis are about $460,000 a piece. So that will have to go into a rate study for the city to be able to. Right now, we're built out to buy all diesel and natural gas. Our rates do not support buying electric, and the private sector, I believe, doesn't kick in unless they were doing over 90 million a year in revenue. So I don't know where any of these folks would fall in that. But if the city chooses to stay in-house, there's going to be more to it than just a $5.50 fee.
Do we ask that in the RFP?
Pardon me?
Do we inquire about that in the RFP about electric service in vehicles?
We did not inquire in the RFP. 'Cause that would be their fleet. And I don't even know if some of these private guys are gonna meet the requirement for it, but because a municipality, the state pushed
Yeah.
it down. It's never been amended.
Brandon, did you have a comment?
Yeah, so in the RFP, we did addition that fleets have to be up to date with all CARB and federal regulations, so that they would have to be up to date and current with these regulations.
Thank you, Randy.
Now, who currently is doing our 1381?
1383. That was my other question. It was my understanding that we did hire a management analyst to help with that.
Randon's been doing most of it and keeping abreast on it,
And you're saying we need
So
another individual?
potentially. with
I
all
am
the
your
recording.
1383.
I'm sorry, what was that, Brandon?
I am the one who completely oversees 1383.
No, does anyone help him? Just
No,
No,
but, right, but once you implement 1383, you have to go out and do spot checks and dig through trash cans and monitor, and there's a lot to it. So maybe another part-timer.
So-
I think at one time we thought about like a $45,000 position.
If we privatize that, then who is doing those things?
They would be in
The
charge of
company
their
that does it is
1383.
responsible for the implementation and ongoing of 1383.
I had another question.
part of
I
this
think I forgot.
RFP, does it have any arguments of I don't appraising our equipment? Like actually going out and getting an appraisal? I know it costs money, but sometimes I learned it in the farming industry when I sold my in-laws stuff. My number compared to the number that the appraisal gave me made a huge difference in she pretty much bought a house for the difference, which shocked me. But
can I chip in on that one as well? So we do have Matt who does the appraisals, and it's not an official appraisal. However, the difficult part is that a majority of our fleet is not CARB compliant. So what we would be asking is a provider to come in, take over our fleet, but half of the vehicles are going to hurt their federal regulation. So there are aspects of that where the value doesn't actually meet, because like our 2006 garbage truck actually holds no value. It hurts them, but they're still taking it over from us. So it does, there's some give and takes on those.
I have a question. I don't know if anybody here can answer this, but if we're having to look at the extra cost of EV vehicles, I imagine even if it's a year from now, anyone that we privatize with are going to have to be doing the same thing, which still means that our rates are going to increase whether we do it ourselves or it's privatized. That's going to have the same increase.
Yes.
Okay.
Potentially, yeah. They have a different trigger point. Like I said, whoever gets the contract, I want to say, I believe Matt told me it was 90 million if you're a private business. I don't know, we have somebody in the audience that has a trash hauling business. Maybe they know more, but so I don't know what whoever gets the award, if it is awarded, when they would meet that trigger. But the city met the trigger last month.
I also know we with the EV vehicles, I dealt with it at one of the commissions I sit on. The availability, we asked 2 years ago, if the availability isn't there and cannot be obtained, is there any kind of I don't know, lack of a better word, pushback to where we can push back and say it's not available? And the answer we got from the consultants they said, yes, there is a way to go back and say, okay, you can't, there's no trash trucks that are electric. There is some, but they're 2 to 4 years out. We were told last month at the same meeting, because we were talking about electric vans or buses and all that stuff. We were told that there is a way to appeal that process. So we may be able to look at.
That would be more of Matt to probably
Yeah.
present to you. I'm not aware of all the options that are out there.
Now, Nathan, you think the 1383 position is a 2-person position or 1.5?
It's definitely more than one until we really get into the nooks and crannies, get into it. I don't know, but it's more than one.
Okay.
It's more than one.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Oh, wait, I already did that.
All right.
Yeah, never mind.
Can I add something?
Sure, Brandon.
So, two things. One, speaking to the 1383 and the personnel for that. It would require additional assistance from outside of me. I do a lot of the contract management, but as far as the enforcement and reviews, we would need somebody a little bit to do it. The other question I would ask of council, because this RFP has been lingering, and this is something that staff has talked to me and I'm sure Frank about, is that if a direction can kind of be made, there's been a lingering of like, will it, won't it happen? And so I would hope that the conversation tonight kind of leads into a direction of what's going to happen, so that our ref, you guys can prepare for that. Thank you.
Not understand that.
Yeah, so this is just approval of to go out for a request
Yeah.
for proposals. I wouldn't expand the discussion any further beyond that.
Great.
Looking for a motion?
Yes,
Motion to approve 6-2.
I don't know where the
Second.
thing went. I have a motion by Councilmember Orth and a second by Councilmember Gornick. Councilmember Orth,
Yes.
Councilmember Gornick,
Yes.
Councilmember Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Lyons,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Moving on to 6-3, report and recommendation fiscal year 2024 budget update. Mr. Olson.
Okay, good evening again, Mayor and council members. Let the clerk catch up here.
Let's go down.
Are you able to pull up the document? Okay, so I'm here to provide you last week, we were asked to provide an update, kind of where we're at. So the 2024 budget update. Go ahead and hit the next slide. So the general fund status, this is all general funds. Expenditures are currently at about 42%. And available budget is the remaining 58%. Revenues right now are 17% of totals for the year. So we still have 83% of our revenues unrealized or outstanding. Couple high points on that. We have not received any property taxes for the year. We haven't received any DMV and lieu fees and that. So between the county and state, they're just behind. This is not unusual, but a lot of our big buckets of money, and we've received about 37% of our tax revenue year to date. So this is really just a timing issue. Cannabis revenue, we brought in about 20%, just under 170,000. We still have 664,000 unrealized. Think probably going to end the year about 550, might hit that number a little short, but we're still waiting on the quarterlies to come in for that one.
That's a couple of years in a row now. It's been down. Right?
Yes, we did very well the first year, and then Hanford, so our two dispensaries did over 800,000 that first year. And then because of and what's not in these numbers is for retail, depending on how much we get a bigger pull, the county pool. So that first year with our dispensaries doing so well, we got about an extra $400,000 or $500,000 from the county pool. So that's not in these numbers. We'll still get more, but not like we did year one. And yes. Okay. Salary and benefits for the general fund, we've expended just over 6 million. We've got 5 million left with about 5 months to go. So we're on track for that. We do have some open positions that have been held. So we should see a little bit of a savings on that year end.
Nathan, what's the percentage of salaries and benefits of total budget?
Of the total budget for the general fund?
80%?
I think the general fund about 65%, 63 to 65, I believe, makes up personnel. Okay, then the water fund status, we've expended about 40% of the budget with 60 left to go. Our revenues are coming in at about 32. This will pick up when we get back into the warmer months, if people are watering their yards and whatnot. So water fund is moving along. Water capital projects, you'll see we've expended just under $500,000 in water projects. The budgeted expenditures does include $1.6 million for the TTHM project that we don't know if we'll hit this year or not. Any of these funds not expended this year will roll over to the water fund the following year. Salary and benefits for the water fund. So we're at about 310 with 5 months to go with 514,000 budgeted. So we're looking pretty good there. Wastewater fund status, we've only expended 24% of our budget. That's in large because we have some capital projects that haven't hit the books yet. Revenues are tracking about where they should be. Those are fixed rates, so should be closer to 50%. So we'll catch up on that. It's billing. We're probably a month behind. So right there, looking pretty good on our wastewater fund. And again, capital projects, we've expended about $750,000. We have $6 million worth of work on the books. Any of those projects, again, that do not get done, those monies will roll and we'll complete those projects the following year. Salary and benefits for the wastewater fund, we're about $545,000 spent out of $1.2 million. They've been running with a couple less people, and we had some vacancies and had a hard time getting some filled. We are still running without a chief plant operator. Our assistant public works director has been acting as that for the last 2 years. We've gone out on many recruitments and been unable to get somebody qualified and ready to sign on for that. So we'll make another attempt at a run at that position as well. Refuse fund, so we've expended about 37% of our budget of 3.2 million. Revenues are in at about 40%, about 60% unrealized. So tracking about where we would expect to be this time of year. And then salary and benefits for refuse are about 750,000 of the $1.35 million budgeted. So they are down a couple of drivers right now. I believe they're down 2 Class B drivers, and I think 2 or 3 maintenance workers in that division currently. So we are seeing a little bit overtime to help cover routes and whatnot. And then this would be the forecast for 25. So as you recall, we projected a fund balance at the end of 23 of $8.5 million. Within the last 2 weeks, we've received some numbers that we're going to start our audit with. So these aren't audited numbers yet, but it looks like we're going to be able to increase the general fund by about 1.5. So the money there coming in, property tax revenue, the county gives us that number. The city doesn't budget that. We use what the county gives us. About 613,000 more than was budgeted. So that's good news, but the county can't really, we asked them to audit and tell us, is that good year over year? We won't know. They'll give us another number, a lot of variables, properties, how many sold, what the price of those properties were. So that's kind of a moving number. So for the budget next year, we can't really bank on having that extra money. We'll use the number the county gives us, as we do generally every year. And that's the most increase we've ever seen on property tax from base. Increase in permit fees. So Lennar came in at the end of the year in period 12 and paid for a boatload of permits. So all that work now going on out by the college is paid for. So now we're doing the inspections and going out and do our things this year, but we've received a lot of the money for those. So we received an additional $475,000 in permit fees that we weren't expecting to get till probably more in this year. So when we go through the budget process, the building department, they'll look at the houses that are out there, and we'll kind of guesstimate what we think we get in fees. I did go to the Board of Supervisors meeting this morning, and they will be voting in August to adopt some new rates, impact fees. And for a single residential, the maximum they can go is an 88% increase over what it is today. Now, the county has not raised those fees in 3 years. So I did weigh in and ask, hopefully they can do a step approach year over year, but I would suspect once that comes out with that potential, because right now it's 95 cents a square foot or 96 cents a square foot. And it's going up to like $1.80 something a square foot. So if they put the full on it, I would expect we're going to see an influx of permits, hopefully they're going to want to beat the new rate increase. So probably period 1, 2, we'd probably see more coming in, but yet to be seen, depends if they're ready to pay their fees or not. So keep an eye on that. County will be voting on that in August.
Let's not rush and get a whole bunch of small houses in here just because
We did see an increase in franchise fees from PG&E and the gas company. Those those are for your rate increases. Everybody got that. We can probably bank on every year as new income. We typically get a little bit more every year, but this year it was 213 over what was budgeted. And then we had about $300,000 in reduced expenditures, and those are unfilled positions or positions we held vacant. So that makes up that kind of that 1.5 million. So we anticipated finishing this year at 8.1. You factor that in, we'll be at about 9.6 is where we expect to finish 24. And then looking forward, the assumptions we made for the fund balance for 25, excuse me, was we said we're going to backfill, or we're going to fill every position that we budgeted this year that we've been holding vacant. So that'd be, we had a captain leave, we had an assistant city manager go out. So that's backfilling the maintenance positions in the general fund. So getting everybody kind of back to status quo on staffing, and hiring 2 directors. We were going to ask for 2 directors in the budget this year. So with all that, and then we assumed, I believe, a 10% increase to the police department budget, and a little bit less for all the other departments for spending, even though the trend shows a 12% year-to-year overall increase. We're anticipating a deficit of about 4 million, but we will have the 9.6. You'd have about $5.6 million left in at the end of fiscal year 25. Now, that being said, if we do decide to outsource refuse, there's still some dollars there. Had we went with the current contract we had, we would have seen that estimated fund balance go up by $1.1 million, because we would have got the 1.1 million from Mid-Valley in this fiscal year we're currently in. And then for next year, it would have lowered the deficit with the two projects brought forth. The franchise fee for the refuse account would have brought in about 700,000, and the investment firm we brought in to talk had anticipated about 800,000 a year conservatively. So should we get out and get those things implemented, or get RFPs, or whatever direction council wants to go, you could really be looking at anticipated deficit of 2.5 million, which is a pretty good story to tell. And that is it.
Go back to your slide again.
Okay.
So the third line there, the proposed ending fund balance for fiscal year 2024.
That would be of June 30th of this year.
Of this year.
Of 24 when we finish.
So you're proposing that we're going to be deficit this year, 452,000.
Yeah, so what we did this year, it was more like 4 million this year deficit. But remember, when the final ruling came out for the ARPA funds, the city had received 6 point something million in ARPA, but we had 3.6 sitting off to the side. Well, the state said, hey, if you're a municipality and receive less than 10 million in ARPA funds in their final ruling, then they said you could just put that money in your general fund. So we did a $3.6 million transfer to the general fund, and that's how we got to 452. Had we not had that ARPA funds, we would have had a $4 million deficit this year, and your fund balance would have been probably 5.6 at the end of this year. And had the ruling on ARPA come out in the very beginning, we probably would have utilized those funds in different ways, but there is some very specific things you could use ARPA money for. And then they kind of threw it all out the window at the last minute and said it could just be a general fund adder.
So you're still anticipating though a deficit this year? At the end of this year?
Well, we're just now starting the budget processes where everybody's putting in their budgets. And when they go through, they're going to put in what they think they're going to need next year. And then they go in this year and they look at their budgets, their spend, and they put down what they think they're going to give back. I think we probably come in less than this because we have had vacant positions. I think we saved 300,000, I believe.
I was just gonna say, you saved that last year, you said.
Yeah, we saved 300 last year and we haven't been overly crazy spending. Now this budget I gave you, like I said, would be backfilling all the vacant positions. Because we get a lot of heat on, sometimes how streets and potholes and this, but we've got like 3 maintenance guys in the whole city. So I would really like to get Nick and his team staff back up to where they can start taking care of some of these issues we've been having, because deferred maintenance ends up costing you more in the long run. But it's really up for council. But to get to the 4 million, that would be hiring everybody that was budgeted this year, and that would be adding the two directors. So that is entirely up for discussion, and we'll be starting budget meetings here, I think, in the next 2 weeks.
So your direction to the staff was, take a look at what you need and put it in there.
Yes.
Then do you review any of that?
Oh, yeah. So they make their first pass on what they want, and then we do a first pass. We sit down and we go over line item with each department that submitted their budgets. We ask for the justification. Typically from the first ask to where after the first couple of rounds, we usually cut $1 million, $1.5 million out of their ask. Kind of that first go round, they kind of ask for what they would like to have. But knowing the budgets this year, I don't think they're going to be asking for a whole lot, but yes, we do scrub the budgets. We go through them line item at a time, and then they resubmit. We go through and make the adjustments, and that's pretty standard every year.
And so you review every position
Yes,
in terms of priority?
yes.
Real quick, can we go back to the water fund, please?
Yes.
Actually, yeah, the one that, yeah, salary and benefits for the water fund. So the salary and benefits for the water fund that we no longer have is still cost us $500,000.
Yes.
And that's, obviously, it's gonna be for the billing department.
Yeah, for billing, unfunded liability, and that I could drill down and send you an email on what all constitutes that number. And also in that number in the water fund is utility billing. They live in the water fund as well. Those
Yeah.
positions were not outsourced.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
Could you send me also how long, this water fund, is it gonna be $500,000? I know we had a conversation, the refuse, it has to run so much in the general fund for like 5 years. Is this gonna be the same scenario for the water? After about 5 years, that number would go down or no? Or is that,
No, this is current operations. The water fund is, our rates right now are locked in. So I don't know what mandates could or will come from the state in
Well,
the
yeah.
future, but right now the water fund's pretty healthy. But this is based on our current rate and water, and we did change. So remember, water now is based upon, you get a flat fee for the amount of your meter that you can pull off the system and burden the system, so to speak. So the bigger the meter, the more you pay. And then it's volumetric. So you pay for every bit of water you use. Now, the only thing that could hurt the city is when enforcement occurs on this 47 gallons or 50 gallons per person per household per day. We still have to treat water and have guys running around and checking it. So you have less water being sold if that implements. And the state right now is leaving that up to the cities to implement who's lying and not lying. And I don't know how we'd get to that yet. We'd have to go to every account user and how many people you got in your house. And then we'd have to sit and do that. So water conservation actually creates a higher water rate just by the nature of it. So no, I don't suspect, we do have the next water contract when it comes, well, that's on operations. So that's not this. This should probably stay pretty close to the same.
Yeah, if I could just add a comment on the water thing, I'm glad you brought that up. The Lemoore elementary teacher that we had come here and complain about her water bill and stuff like that. That's not a one-off experience. I
No.
got 4 or 5 calls from people who have.
So have I, and we've been working on
difficulty
them.
With our system.
Yeah, we're having some troubles with the integration between the old system and the new system. And they had outlined some very specific rules on our website.
That are.
When you went in to pay that, if you ignored that, it wasn't going to work well for you. I believe we got those bugs worked out, but there's still a few lingering. I dealt with 2 of them today already. So we're kind of dealing with them on a case by case basis. And the weird thing with our new system, let's say, for instance, you pay $130, but you overpaid by 20. This new, right now, we can't do a refund for 20. We can do a credit, but we can't like do a refund.
Right.
So we're still working through some of the bugs. So asking for a little bit of patience, but on the ones we've been dealing with one-on-one or that I've seen, we have come to terms with the resident, and they seem happy with the outcome. So a little bit of growing pains on the transition.
Yeah, I hope we're not dinging people for late fees. I said, I hope we're not dinging people for late fees when we're having some issues with this system.
No, my direction is today when I was talking to the manager of the department, because they're not the manager, but when the manager's currently out. But was, hey, until we make sure our systems are good, let's err to the side of our resident and give the resident the benefit of the doubt. So
Good.
that's,
So this software system, you got that notice from Kings County today
which one?
about their system being down? Or
No, I didn't see that one.
System.
Pilot Tech?
Yeah, it's gonna be
Is that
done.
the same guys that do our?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
That's what I thought.
Ours didn't go down today, but
no,
it went down last week.
it's gonna go in April. April, or they were supposed to.
Oh,
go
they're going
March.
down for,
It's gonna go March to input stuff, and it's gonna go in April, so.
Yeah.
So this is action item, right? We need a motion?
no, this was just a report.
Report, oh, that's right, okay.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything you want us to come back with, any additional information or.
Yeah, I'd like to see how much money you trim out of the requests. Because I think $4 million is not satisfactory in terms of deficit.
So I guess where the recommendation would come in, and I don't disagree,
Did you get your?
would be, so currently right now, our policy states that we have to maintain 35, we have to be able to cover the budget and have 35% reserves left in. Does council still want to stick to that? Does council want to give a new direction? Are you going to require a balanced budget? Can you kind of give staff a target number to hit? But this is pretty much the numbers we gave you is going off historical. The savings though, where we trim would more than likely be in holding positions. It's not a whole lot in the operations budget. It really isn't.
I don't think it's our job to give you, at least I don't think it's my job to tell you that you shouldn't bring in a balanced budget. I mean, that should be standard operating procedure. And how you get there that's city manager's job.
Correct, but we have been pretty vocal so far on how we get there. I mean, we brought stuff and it's been rejected that would have reduced this deficit by 1.5 million. So we're just trying to get something, because if we reduce this, if I bring you if the direction is you want a balanced budget, it's going to hurt. And we'll do it, but bringing a balanced budget, we'd be gutting a lot of things. It's just, it's not good news. I get it, but we haven't had a balanced budget since I've been here.
Ever.
And before that, and I think last year when we said we had that $2 or $3 million, Mr. Gornick, I believe you called it an enhanced need, but we had the money in the savings, so we're good. So this is not a new issue for us, but we're trying to work our way through it the best we can.
Yeah, I just don't think, where I have a disagreement is I don't think we have taken all the options we could take to do it. And that's where I come down. So.
Okay, well, if we don't want to do another recommendation, then we will go by
That was just my
the current
comment.
regulation that we have, which will be 35% left in the reserves after the budget.
I'm not speaking for the council. I'm just giving you my opinion.
Any other comment from council? We'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Is there any public comment on this item? See none? I guess that's that item.
Okay, thank you.
Item 6.4, discussion and direction, employee work schedules. Mr. Olson.
So, several months ago, we implemented a 4-day work schedule to see about potential savings. We were guesstimating up to 50 or 60,000, I believe, in savings. We were going to run that program through, I believe, the second week of April, and then do an assessment. And we placed this on the agenda at the request of council.
So I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question. I feel stupid even asking it. I see some city employees in the audience. By a raise of hand, who enjoys the 410?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's easy math. At the same time, I understand that and I can appreciate that, but I feel like it's not what's best for the town. And I understand why Nathan did it initially. It wasn't to appease our employees, but at the same time, they ended up liking it and they're all don't want to lose it. And we did it to attempt to save money. And what I'm about to ask her to say is this almost stupid and goes against everything, but is there a way to juggle this so we can keep 410s but still have our office open on Friday, or does that squash? I'm assuming that destroys your $50,000 worth of savings, correct?
Correct. I mean,
Yeah.
we did it as a result of for savings and I mean, the secondary benefit was, yeah, some of the employees liked it, but before we picked the schedules, we did surveys with the employees and we asked about like, what is it, the 4.980s where you work like every other Friday and different things like that to see if we could shut the offices down, maybe just every other Friday and overwhelm, people said, hey, we'd rather, this is the best schedule. And then we looked at it and said, okay, well, fine. If we can shut down all the heating for Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the building on the weekends, that could give us an opportunity for savings. Now, we did find a pretty significant savings that we're still quantifying, but it had nothing to do.
You can't factor
No,
that
it
in.
had
Can't
nothing
use
to
that
do.
one.
No, I'm not, but it
Yeah,
had
no,
nothing to
use
do with
that
the
one.
410s. But had we not started looking at this, we
Yeah.
wouldn't have caught it. So a secondary benefit. But we're not claiming that in our savings.
But the primary benefit outweighs the other benefit
Maybe.
negates years of doing that one, so.
Yeah. So there's things you could do. You could do 410s and alternate Monday, Fridays. And that works in some instances, but not all instances.
Well, not all employees are getting this benefit,
No, they're not everyone. No.
so we gotta remember that. Not all all employees are getting the benefits.
That's all. I just had the one question.
Any other comments or questions from council? I'll go ahead and open it to public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? It's like somebody's gonna have to talk.
Yeah. Edward Miller for the city of Lemoore, Water Conservation Officer. And for the 410s, like I said, the employees, we love it. I mean, we get Fridays off for the ones that are allowed to do it. If the savings really don't matter to you guys, just let the directors decide what's best for their department in order to service that department the best they can.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Okay, go ahead.
This is Brandon Reader. So I also agree with Ed with the 410s. And I also see council side of it with facing the public. And we have looked personally into some transactional analysis regarding how many customers we had on Fridays prior to. And although it's a small percentage, I would understand that council would like to see those customers served on Fridays. So I mean, I think there is a good middle ground with this, with keeping most of us on 410s and having, some sort of like 9-hour shifts with 4 hours for finance, building, and maybe rec to be open on Fridays to allow people to come in and walk, people to pay their bills and people to get inspections on Fridays. But to completely change to maybe a 5/8 would kind of just demoralize even more the current employees that we have. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? More?
Good evening again, Mayor and City Council. Jennifer Solis, 757 Redwood Lane. I know you guys have heard me talk about it before, closing the lobby even more because we did close it during COVID and we did survive that. And if we're talking about budget deficits, I think the residents needs to feel some sort of inconvenience. On top of that, I think the way you did it was brilliant by opening earlier and staying later on the 4 days so people can do it, you know, before they work, after work, during lunch, things like that. And if you were to make a change back, I would recommend looking at reports like how many phone calls came in on that Friday, you know, how many missed calls do we have? Because if it is just retraining the residents to say, okay, we have 4 days to do this and it's one more step that can save us money, then it's us doing our part. So just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that I know that we ran into during this holiday season was with being off on Fridays and then having so many holidays back to back. There were a lot of resident complaints about not being able to conduct business with the city. So I do understand the resident standpoint. So I just want to, I think there were some other options thrown out there that could be possibilities that may even help that type of situation where we could maybe be a little bit more open. I think there was one day we were only open 2 days out of the week, but definitely some good discussion and maybe some other options moving forward. So I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Aaron Oliver. I'm with the building department. I've just got a couple of quick talking points about the 410s. Well, for one, you know, we've got the summertime, which is going to be a true reflection of any kind of savings that the city's going to get as far as, you know, electric bills. We've got a lot of AC units that run all day long. Another talking point real quick would be our availability that we have now. We are currently available for 10 hours every single day, Monday through Thursday, compared to 7.5 hours of what we had going on when we were on 510s. Oh, no, sorry, about 5.8s. I haven't heard a whole lot of negative effects directly correlated with 410s. We've had a couple of miscommunications, but that's about all we've heard in our department. We've also got the online direction that we're going in that alleviates a lot of those concerns. We've also got employee benefits that need to be considered. We've got, you know, 4 days of travel costs instead of 5. We've got 4 days of food costs. You know, obviously, you know, some people bring their lunches, but a lot of people don't, and that money ends up going, you know, the money from the people that don't bring their lunches, that's going back into the local economy. We've got childcare expenses that need to be considered. If you add up one extra day of childcare for the entire year, that I can imagine that would be pretty substantial. We've also got, I mean, this is hearsay, but we've also got the management trickle with mental health. We've got a lot of management that wear multiple hats. Some of them are visibly under high stress, and that reflects to their department. We've got employee retention issues and acquisition problems, and I believe 410s are a lot more attractive than 5.8s. I believe that's all I've got to say.
Oh, I'm sure you can think of another one.
I could keep going, but let's leave it at that. I appreciate your time and your consideration.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Which 4 days do you prefer?
What 4 days? Well, I prefer having a Friday off, but that's just my opinion. It doesn't mean a whole lot.
Monday off instead.
If I had a Monday off instead, I don't. I mean, off the top of my head, just quickly thinking about it, I don't think it would make that big of a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there more, Marissa?
Yeah.
Hello, hello. My name is Trenton Williams. I'm with the rec department. Aaron, I love the layout. It sounded beautiful. I just want to just voice in real quick. I'm willing to work whatever you guys throw, but the 410s is amazing. We're already used to it. If we're gonna change, at least let us run the course that we said we were gonna run, which was a 6 month trial till April. I believe it's working good. The downside is yes, Friday, we're not open to the community. But like Aaron said, we're open a lot more Monday through Thursday than when we were Friday. So it is a little more pleasable rather than if you have Friday off, yes, you're unable to, but you're still we can still take payments over the phone. So in the long run, I think the 410s are good. And the positive thing is too, it's not gonna mess up programs. Just like when soccer starts in March, I'll be Wednesday through Saturday. We're still running programming. And then I'll have my Sunday through Tuesdays off. So if the days were to switch and we still keep the 3 days, that's a plus too. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
One more, Mr. Reed, and then I'll get you.
Hello, my name is Carolina. I'm the front office receptionist. I just want to say, like, going based off of what Aaron said, going the 4 days, I come from Kalinga, so it does help not having that extra day to go to work. I'm sure it'll help a lot of other employees that have kids for childcare expenses and everything. And then Fridays, when we were working the 5/8s, it was always very slow for us, for myself and the building permit technician. We never really had a lot of people coming in, hardly any calls. At least in our section, I feel like it was not that beneficial for us, just kind of being there and, doing other things, you know. But yeah, I think we all appreciate the 4 days of working and having that Friday off. It does give us an extra day to, do certain things that are only open during weekdays, unless like we don't have to use our vacation time. We don't have to have someone to cover us because we're gone. It does benefit the employees, and the residents do have more time to come in on the days that we are open. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you. Was that all of them, Marissa?
I don't know, Aaron might.
He
knows
he
the
can't
rules.
do it twice. Otherwise, we have to give everyone else 2 times.
Sorry, Aaron.
Susie?
Hi, Susie Benuelos, 892 Cedar Lane. While I agree with almost everyone, working 410s is amazing. I worked as a nurse over 20-something years and I worked shift work. So I would work 14, 16-hour days. I'd work 410s. It just varies. But I feel like it's important to remind the city and the residents that, well, I think the city of Lemoore wants to be an excellent employer to their employees. They're a fraction of the people of this town, and you're there to provide a service for the citizens of Lemoore. And we have other occupations that don't get days off. There are construction workers, farm workers, all kinds of people who don't get days off at all. So I kind of chuckle because I've been in both positions. I've been in the position where I can't get off to take care of business. And I actually had to use, oh my gosh, my time off. But that's what it was for, to take time off, personal time off for what I needed. I also have never heard of a daycare, but would have loved to back in the day that you didn't have to pay that one day your kid wasn't there. It was you pay for the month, whether your kid was there for a day or all month. But I think we all need to remember that we need to be available to the citizens. What if they work Monday through Friday and Fridays there, or Monday through Thursday, and they need something handled on Friday and now they're stuck and they go the weekend without a utility? I think there's probably a happy medium. Maybe someone can switch off or work part of the day on Friday, but it's almost comical to me to hear the reasons why people want to stay open when they're working for a government that is supposed to serve its citizens and provide a service. And that's all. But I do love working 410s too, so.
Thank you. Mr. Reed?
I'm Reed Private Lemoore. When I was working, I worked two different schedules. One schedule we worked from Tuesday of one week through Thursday of the following week. So every other weekend, we had Monday or Friday through Monday off. That's not going to work when you have customer service. I was in the construction field, so it worked for us. The other schedule I worked was a 410, and everyone loved it. And again, we didn't have customer service, so that wasn't a problem. But I will say one thing. If you're going to work the 410s, you best make sure that people understand that we have to service the public. Like the lady back here who had the question about her bill. You know, you can't just say, no, we can't do that. Someone has to do that. And I'm sure glad Mr. Olson says he'll take care of it. But it shouldn't have to get to him to do that. The employee should take the initiative and get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Champion?
So I could reiterate a lot of what a lot of people said, but I'll skip that. We do love our 410s. I just would like to add two separate things. We've talked in the past about having trouble recruiting new people to the city. We just don't have a lot to compete with other cities. I know City of Hanford is offering alternative schedules. Kings County is offering alternative schedules. Just post-COVID world is a lot different. Some are even going to offering telework. So having the ability to offer those alternative schedules, it definitely is a plus for us and would allow us, I think it would be very beneficial in trying to recruit employees. The other thing is we talked a lot about alternating Mondays, Fridays, and that's definitely doable. Brandon brought up different kinds of schedules. I will say that when it comes to some of our staff, we are very limited in some of our departments. And if you choose to be open Monday through Friday, that would limit their ability just because we don't have coverage. So if you're trying to offer it to most of your employees, you want to keep that in mind. Just because they don't have the coverage to be alternating some of those schedules. But we do love them. We're grateful for them. Just an extra little tidbit. That's all.
Thank you. Any other public comment? No one's online, Marissa?
Carolina, is that you?
No, this is Trent, and I already talked again, but if I could say something real quick again.
I'm sorry, Trent, you already spoke. You get one shot.
No worries. I'm on the clock, guys.
What did he say?
He's on the clock.
He's on the clock.
Thank you, sir.
We'll get to work. Is that right?
Mayor, can I have a recommendation for council. I would actually like the opportunity to talk about this with council further and perhaps even your new interim city manager as well, but I have some concerns that I'm not going to express out here.
Okay.
So with that, we'll go ahead and move on to brief city council reports and requests. Mr. Garza.
Yeah, I just wanted to again thank Frank and his staff and all others that who helped out with the helping us out weathering the storm. Very much appreciated, guys and women that were out there. Also, I do want to talk to the council about the gentleman that came in about public for his public comments. I think that we probably needed a better job of if they need a translation or a translator. I think we needed a better job of that because he did have something to say. He waited around and I think he left now. And, you know, he has a concern. He's a citizen. So I believe that we need to do something better for that. And that's just my comment.
Mr. Lyons?
Yeah, I had something, I forgot it. Sorry. Yeah, okay, yeah, Frank, thank you, Frank, for your crew to help with all the storm stuff going on, chief, you guys and the police, and all our 410 employees. I want to thank all of them. And the ones that don't get 410s also. That's all.
Mr. Orth?
Yeah, I would like to come up on the next, on a council meeting, for us to be talked about, for us to discuss, maybe on a consent calendar, about the water bill, about what we're doing, what we've seen, what we, because the water bill, it's sad to see a citizen, and my personal opinion is it should not go to the level of a city manager to explain, we should have employees that can articulate to our citizens and explain the water bill process, and our city manager's jobs will to do much more than to
Decipher water.
decipher customer service. We need to deal with customer service at the right level. And also figure out what bills are we charging late fees for $2, $5, $10? What are we doing for? Because that's, I've got a lot of complaints about our water billing and how difficult it is. And we decided to change the water process, not the citizens. So we need to remember that. Frank, thank you for all the hard work, making sure we're not drowning. Driving over here from my house, I saw a lot of streets that, but we heard it earlier. It's a lot of rain. So you guys are doing great. Police, good job on everything, working hard. Fire, you keep it up.
Either.
We're gonna have a late night tonight, so thank you, everybody, and we're gonna have a late night, so.
Mr. Gornick?
I concur with everything that's been said. And I think the idea about being ready to have somebody interpret for some citizens.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
It's a great idea. I'm going to try and tell you a quick little story. It reminds me of what I'm hearing tonight. So this young couple was having dinner, and the husband was watching his wife cook at dinner, and he said, "What do we have tonight?" And she said, "We're having pot roast." And he said, "Oh, that's great." And so she proceeds to get the pan out, and she takes the pot roast, and she cuts it in half, and she puts one part in and cooks it, and takes the other one out and cooks it again. She said, "Oh, it's great." And so a week later, they went to the in-laws' house, and he asked, "What are we having?" "We're having pot roast." "Really? How do you do that?" He said, "Well, it's grandma's recipe. So we all use grandma's recipe. Cuts one piece in half and cooks that, takes it out, takes the other piece, cooks it, takes it out, and ready to go, So they take off and they go to their aunt's house. And so their aunt is one of the sisters, and we're gonna have pot roast. "Really? How do you cook it? Like grandma?" "Yeah." Cuts it in half, puts one piece in, cooks it, the other one. So about 6 months later, they go to great grandma's house. And they go to great grandma's house, and he said to great grandma, "Grandma, what do we have for dinner?" She said, "I'm gonna cook you my pot roast, sonny." He said, "Well, that's great." He said, I'd like to see how you do that." So she gets it out, and she gets the pot roast out, and she cuts it in half. And he said, she puts one piece in, and he said, "Can I ask you why you just cut it in half and put one piece in?" He says, "Well, this is the only pan size I've ever had, so we always do it this way." And so to some of us who have always been doing it this way for a long time, I think we need to do some things different when it comes to budget, when it comes to schedule, all kinds of things like that. So that's my story for today. So stick it to it.
Good job, Frank.
Now you made me hungry.
For pot roast?
Not really, but one of the things that I wanted to request tonight was a cannabis audit. I know that we had got a little bit of information regarding cannabis, but I've had several people ask me, and I know at the roundtable there was an individual that also questioned some of the cannabis fees and revenues, and if we could just get an audit that kind of gives the fees, the taxes, all of the community benefit, whether it's contractual or even just voluntary on the cannabis companies. If we could get that information, I would appreciate that in a future item. And also, I wanted to also request that we change the procedures for calling a special meeting. Our current procedures have to have a majority of council call a meeting, which to me, that was a little bit confusing because that would be a Brown Act violation. So I was wanting to bring that back for an item so that we can discuss possibilities on changing that and what that might look like. Do I need consensus to bring that for an agenda item?
No, I don't believe that's your practice, but to just poll people for meeting availability isn't necessarily a Brown Act violation, but there are other communities that allow like the mayor to call it or mayor pro tem to call it or the city manager to call it. And so I just wanted to note that.
Okay. And that's all I have. So with that, we'll go ahead and move to our second closed session, Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Appointment / Employment, City Manager. So we'll go ahead and go into closed session.